Nano Machine. Bai, Anhong Guolya. Chapter 180. Unexpected Offer. Part 1. With 10th Elder In Moha going through body reconstruction, for the first time in his life, a naked woman was bowing to Chun Yowan in allegiance. Yowan also became embarrassed and looked away. Elder, you should get dressed first. Oh. In Moha was weird, but when she realized she was naked, she blushed and quickly ran into the building. She looked like in her 20s now, but she was still in her 50s, so she didn't scream or anything like that. Haha, it's hot. Isn't it? Yeah, I know. Ko Wonger and Hu Bong flapped their hands at their face. It was cold winter, but they were hot for some reason. And with this, Yowan was able to acquire the second approval, and the powerful servant who was at the end stage of the supreme level. It was as Li Hamming said. She was going to be a valuable asset to the member. After about 10 minutes, Yowan and his members were gathered in the office of the mansion. 10th Elder In Moha now looked about the same age as the others. But Mun Ku didn't look so happy. Ugh, look at them, they're fooled by her naked body. She seemed to think all of the boys here were fools. But only one who knew her as a girl was Yowan, so only Yowan knew why she was being uncomfortable. Is that true? In Moha was looking down at the man kneeling at the office. The man had all of his fingers snapped backward and begged, but the anger didn't go down. In Moha gritted her teeth as she growled in one clan's name. Sword Clan. She didn't think the staff that worked for over 10 years were spies of the Sword Clan. She didn't even become suspicious as the staff did not have any internal energy. The Sword Clan told him to watch over me. The staff spilled everything he knew to Chun Yowan. They were told that if she finds any progress in restoring the Sword Demon's sword skill, then they were ordered to bring it out. But they couldn't see In Moha in training, as she always trained in a locked room and she didn't leave any tracing, so it was no use. You dare try to kill me? And with no findings, that's when they saw In Moha going under body reconstruction and thought they had to interrupt it at all costs. This betrayal was as terrible. The man begged as hard as he could. And Master, please don't torture me. He wasn't begging for his life. He was a trained spy, so he didn't fear death. But after being his fingers snapped and nails pulled out, he had gone through so much pain that he wanted to die. Master, why you still haven't changed? Hu Bong felt sweat running through his forehead. It was long memory, but he was reminded of his first meeting with Chun Yowan at the medical room. Chun Yowan's torture was that of a trained torturer. Ha! Ugh! In Moha angrily created sword chi over her finger and thrust it into the staff's heart. She did not intend to let the man live who tried to kill her, even if the man served her. Over 10 years. When she seemed to ease her anger, Yowan asked her, Elder, can I ask you what is going on? In Moha did not speak the important part that Yowan was being curious on. In Moha thought for a moment and spoke. Okay. I decided to serve you as my master, so I will tell you everything. Leaders of the Demon Spread Sword Clan were powerful, as their root was from the Sword family itself. So even if they weren't from 6 clans, they often took important roles within the cult. The reason for them to take such important roles were to compete against 6 clans, but also to continue the true will of the Sword family. We wanted to be approved of what we restored over 500 years, but Sword and Wise clan always rejected the idea. They always emphasized that they were the true successor to the will and did not approve true Sword Demon that the Demon Spread Sword clan restored. And that continued through history down to In Moha. It was 8 years ago. She still remembered the day. She was training her sword in her mansion when someone infiltrated in. He had masked his face, but his eyes were not from any ordinary attacker. She didn't let the intruder to just walk freely in her mansion, so she fought against the man. And the result was her loss after just one formation. One formation? Yowan was surprised. It was a powerful move. In Moha was angered at her loss, when the masked man offered her unexpected offer. You restored true demon sword to some extent. If you want to succeed the will of the Sword family, come to the peak of the 5 Wise Peak at the southwest of the 1,000 Peaks mountain in 3 days. This made her become very confused. I was so confused and I couldn't find out who he was since he changed his voice. If the man knew about Sword family and appeared here in the castle, then he must be cultist. But In Moha had never seen such powerful martial artist. She was also shocked when the man recognized the true demon sword. After hesitating for a long time, she had to go down to the 5 Wise Peak. She couldn't just ignore it when the name of Sword family was mentioned. And when I went up the peak, there was ones that weren't expected. It was King Bonki of the Sword clan, and Mujin one of the Wise clan. All of them didn't expect each other to be here and ready to fight, but they stopped when the masked man appeared. Who are you to mention the name of sword family and gather us here? King Banki shouted angrily, as he was most hot-tempered one. But he didn't attack the man at once, so it seemed he too had lost against this masked man. You don't need to know who I am. Then how should we address you? Mujin1 asked and masked man answered. You can call me Anonymous if you need the name. This was the Anonymous that Moha spoke earlier. After gathering all of them in the same place, the man went into the subject. With all members that succeeds the sword family here, I will teach you the lost true demon sword to you. Chapter 181. Unexpected Offer. Part 2. What? The three leaders were shocked. It was shocking to hear this masked man saying he will teach the true sword demon, but it was also suspicious at the same time. And Anonymous showed us the sword formation to prove himself. The power equal to the Lord's sword art of the sky demon was enough to prove that it was real. All of them became tempted to learn. How do you know the true demon sword? I can't tell you. And why are you teaching us this? Mujin1, who was the suspicious type, kept on trying to find out the reason, but Anonymous shook his head. I'll just say this. I just considered it was right to teach this to the ones that have succeeded the teaching of the sword demon. As he said, they confirmed that this Anonymous was a member of the cult. But his power was so powerful to attempt to find out who he is with force. King Banki and Mujin1 agreed to be taught on the sword skill, but Moha objected. No. I can't allow that. Moha told that these two clans were banished by sword demon after disappointing him and claimed that these two clans did not have the right to learn it. Two other leaders objected and the atmosphere began to grow worse. And Anonymous came up with an answer. Okay. I will do this. This is not all the teachings from Sword Demon that I am trying to teach you. And with that, Anonymous showed them a new sword formation that shocked all of them. One formation was much more powerful that even the sword art of the Sky Demon could not compete against. This is named 24 Sword Demon. It is the last sword skill left by the Sword Demon himself. Martial arts was like a treasure to every people of Yulin. And from looking at the powerful martial art that can be the most powerful martial art of the entire cult, all of them became tempted. And if it was the last sword skill left by the Sword Demon, it also had great meaning behind it. I'll offer you this. I will teach all of you the true demon sword. And I will teach this to one who mastered perfectly in 3 years. You all know what this means. This meant that whoever learns it will become true successor of the Sword Demon. Moha didn't want the other two clans to even have the chance of becoming the successor, but Anonymous was firm on his decision. I have trained hard so the teaching would not fall at the hands of those scums. The Demon Spread Sword clan spent 500 years to restore true demon sword. And without even needing 3 years, she was able to complete the sword in just 2. And after 3 years, 3 leaders met again at the peak of the 5 Wise. I thought I was the only one who perfected it. I was wrong. Wise and Sword clan also had their roots in the sword family. 3 years were enough to have these leaders perfect the true sword demon sword. Anonymous concluded that he couldn't find a difference in perfection between them and gave them another chance. You all should know by now that this sword skill is 500 years old, so it has its weakness. Fix this, and you deserve the 24 demon sword. They were given 2 years. Moha trained hard as she can to fix the weakness. The result was what she used against Chun Yowen. But the competition was severe. 2 elders from the Wise and Sword clans were of the top 5 warriors of the cult. They too worked hard to fix the weakness, so it was natural for them to succeed in removing the weakness. And with the second competition to have reached a tie, Anonymous offered them a final offer. This isn't easy. Then I will change the method. I will see if all of you deserve the right to succeed the relic of the Sword Demon. He asked them if they remembered the first formation of the 24 demon sword. Of course, they did not forget that powerful formation. Good. I will give you 3 years. Replicate the first formation. If you have will to succeed the Sword Demon and with some luck, you will be able to complete the formation. What? We have no energy flow or teachings. How can we learn the formation that we just saw once? King Banki spoke back angrily, but Anonymous was firm. That sword movement does not require special energy flow. If you have the right, then you will learn. Impossible. They became dumbfounded and Anonymous suddenly pulled out his sword and unleashed one formation. It was much more powerful, not weaker than the 24 Sword Demon. After the formation, Anonymous' arm and leg shook and looked exhausted. What is that? King Banki and Mujin1 looked shocked. Moha never saw such movement before, but 2 of them seemed to know something. I will test you with this formation after 3 years. If you perfected the first formation of the 24 demon sword, then you will counter the Formation I just used. And with that, Anonymous quickly disappeared. They were left with no choice. Moha then finished up her story. That was 3 years ago. Oh. Yoan then realized what Lee Hamming had said. The reason she came into contact with Wise and Sword Clan was because of this. 3 years, so did you already met the Anonymous again? I have to, in 2 weeks. This was why she was locked up in the house and train. She had to come over these 2 leaders and succeed the teachings. You told me you can teach me Sword Demon's teachings, but I have to stop those scumbags from learning the teaching. Yoan narrowed his eyes. There was one part that he was being suspicious as he heard the story. It was Anonymous. If he knows the name, 24 Demon Sword, he must have seen the skill book at the treasure vault. But that required to pass the 6th test, and he had heard no one had passed the test in 70 years. Then who was this man? I should ask Left Guardian on the person who passed the 6th test 70 years ago. Whoever it was, if the person was trying to give chance to 2 other clans, this wasn't good news for Chen Yoan. And there was one more thing Yoan was curious on. 10th Elder. Do you still remember the sword formation that the man used 3 years ago? Of course. She remembered well on the movement. Yoan then asked her to show him in private, and she took him into the private training room underground of her main building. Yoan, after getting to the training room, immediately took out his sword and unleashed the formation. It was a grand and powerful movement that made Moha's eye turned large. Ah! It was exactly same sword formation that Anonymous showed her 3 years ago. The only difference was that if Anonymous was barely able to do it, Yoan was using it flawlessly and naturally. How do you know the sword formation? This is the one that Anonymous used back then. Yoan became grim. He was shocked. How can this be? The formation he just used was the first formation of the sword force of the Sky Demon. Chapter 182. Unexpected Offer. Part 3. After leaving the Demon Spread Sword Clan, Chen Yoan was concerned. He had thought that he alone had learned the sword skills that Father Chun Ma and Sword Demon had left. But it turned out that there was someone else who learned it before him. He then remembered what Left Guardian Lee Hamming spoke to him about. The sword tracing on the pedestal was copied and made it as a book. Even if it had no use without the specific energy flow, it was still the sword skill left by the founding father of the demonic cult, so Sword Demon copied it before he went on to destroy during his practice and sent it to the Lord's Palace. Lord's Palace, then only one who can see the book is the Lord himself. Was the Lord Anonymous then? But that didn't explain how the man knew 24 Demon Sword. The Lord was in his 50s, so it didn't make sense to say he maybe had passed the 6th test of the Demonic Academy. Do I need to ask Left Guardian? And there was a way for Yoan to go meet. Moha had said she and 2 elders from Wise and Sword Clan were to meet the Anonymous 2 weeks later. It seemed that was the chance. Oh, maybe it's a good thing. If those 2 elders will come out of their place willingly and alone. Maybe it was the best chance for Yoan to tackle those. Yoan can use the chance to ambush them and also find out who this Anonymous is. He learned the sword force of the Sky Demon, but it's not perfect. Fortunately, the sword force of the Sky Demon required specific energy flow, or it didn't allow its formation to be utilized. The reason why Anonymous formation was awkward and made him exhausting was probably because he did not know the energy flow. And when they all gathered back at the office, Moha declared in front of everyone, "I will guard the prince as of right now." What? She was one of the elders, but she claimed that she will be a guard for Yoan. This was her way to show her loyalty, even if she was a highly experienced superior master warrior. He needs to succeed for the true return of the sword family. Chen Yoan had many enemies. He was quite powerful, but it was still dangerous as he had to face against 6 clans. Moha thought she needed to protect Yoan closely. And after his declaration, Mun Ku became uncomfortable. She wasn't sure why she felt that way and spoke out. That is a good thing, 10th Elder. But if you leave your mansion, it might draw attention from the Sword or other clans. Don't you think so? Regardless of her intention, her reasoning was reasonable. Yoan too agreed with this and was about to nod, when Ko Wonger stepped up and spoke with laughter. Ha ha ha. Mun Ku, don't worry about that. Huh? Master, why don't we do this? When Ko Wonger explained his way for said problem, Moha agreed. With Wonger's suggestion, it was sure that Moha will stay by Yoan without any concern of having other clans to be wary of them. Thanks for nothing. Mun Ku became frustrated and glared at Ko Wonger, who were satisfied for suggesting ingenious idea. And with that, Chen Yoan's group returned to the mansion of the Ghost Illusion clan. When Yoan returned from his trip to get the approval, Huan Yi came out to greet him. Prince, have everything went well? Huani originally was very worried about Yoan going to meet with In Moha. He had seen In Moha multiple times at elders meeting, but he knew that she was very stubborn and antisocial, that it seemed not possible to persuade her. He probably have not gotten far. She wasn't a type to earn trust just by being strong. Huani expected Yoan had failed. But who is this girl? She sure have glaring eyes. Huani couldn't recognize In Moha standing next to Yoan. He remembered her as a middle-aged lady in her 50s. And by reaching the end stage of the superior master level, In Moha now hid her energy so well that it made it even harder for Huani to recognize her. Stop scanning on me, you genderless bastard. Huani became surprised at taunting words coming out of the young beautiful woman's mouth. Huh? Did you just talk to me? Yeah, you. She glared and Huani's eye narrowed. He didn't expect just until now, but it seems he had heard this way of speaking. Wait a minute. I feel like I know you. So? Chun Yoan then intervened. It seems it's good if you cannot recognize her. Huani then frowned. He thought for a second and soon his eyes turned wide with shock. What? Is she Elder In? Yoan smiled and nodded. Huani genuinely looked shocked to see In Moha, who had become younger in her looks. My. Look at your skin. So, you went through body reconstruction? Bah. I said stop scanning at me. Huani looked shocked, but also looked envious. His face too, even with the mask, had many wrinkles from his age. I am very jealous. Oh, anyway. Prince, congratulations. Huani bowed, to congratulate Yoan on acquiring second approval. Having In Moha on their team when nobody thought it was possible, was a great achievement. And if she had gone through body reconstruction, it meant she was now within top 5 warriors of the cult. Prince had earned a great ally. At this rate, it didn't seem much like it would be much problem for Yoan to become the heir. The problem was after when the lord and elders from 6 clans return. Yoan then asked Huani, "Can you create a mask?" Huani became surprised at the unexpected request and smiled with a guess. Oh, I see. It's good thinking. It's to hide that she went through body reconstruction, isn't it? No. What? We need replacement of In Moha at her mansion. Oh. Huani realized what Yoan had planned right away. This was the way that Ko Wanger had thought of. He said that they can ask Huani to create mask for someone to act like 10th elder at her home. If then, In Moha was always one to stay inside her home, never meeting with anyone, so it made possible to fool other clans. There was no way for anyone to recognize a young woman guarding Chun Yoan was actually In Moha. As you wish, my master. Huani then went to his workshop to create the mask. And with Samachuk still going through healing his wounds, Yoan decided to take a day off and rest. Ko Wanger and Hu Bang said they will return to their respective clans. They couldn't meet with their parents yet after coming out of the academy. Mun Ku also said she will return to her home so she can see her brother who was alone at home. Chapter 183. Unexpected Offer. Part 4. And the day passed. Unlike Baki, who was badly injured outside also, Samachuk had healed himself enough to move around. Good that you're okay. I'm sorry, master. Guard Zhang was still in a deep sleep as he was in a pretty bad state. Around the afternoon, Ko Wanger, Hu Bang and Mun Ku returned. They all looked happy to have met their families after a long time. How was your brother? He's doing fine. Fortunately. She was worried as her grandfather, Mun Yun, was away from her home, but her brother was faring well. She was thankful that Yoan asked of her brother. And with everyone, other than Baki, gathered, Yoan decided to meet for the 3rd elder. There was one thing Yoan wanted to ask Left Guardian, but he had to go for the approval first. We'll divide into groups. Huh? Last night, Yoan had planned what he needed to do. He figured that it was important to gather approvals, but it seemed also necessary to meet with clans from his members still at the academy. Yoan then told Ko Wanger, Hu Bang and Mun Ku to meet with their members at the academy and arrange a meeting with clan leaders of respective clans. Ko Wanger then shook his head. I think me and Hu Bang can do it fine. It's better that you keep at least 3 with you, master. Take Mun Ku with you. In Moha was enough as a guard, but she was still an elder, so Wanger thought it wouldn't feel comfortable for Yoan to order her around. Damn it. I don't get to say anything again. Hu Bang became disappointed that he was given no chance to say his opinion. And unlike him, Mun Ku was glad that Ko Wanger suggested so she can stay with Yoan. Her frustration with yesterday's event had disappeared. She didn't know why, but she didn't like seeing Yoan close with another woman. Then I'll be off to Samu clan. I'm counting on you guys. Wanger, Hu Bang. Yes, master. Good luck. And two groups went on their quest. Yoan and his group went to the Samu clan's mansion located east of the castle. Samu clan was one of the highest-ranking clans aside from 6 clans. The mansion was lavish and grand, almost equal to that of mansion from 6 clans. At the entrance, Yoan took a deep breath. He had to duel 2 of the elders he had got approval from until now. But unlike the other 2, Sama-chuk said his father was looking forward to meeting with Yoan. Will I get approval easily this time? Yoan was actually weird that there was an elder who was going to meet him with a friendly gesture. But he wasn't sure yet. And when they got up to the entrance, 2 middle-aged guards became surprised and ran out. Young master. They had recognized Sama-chuk right away. They had not seen him for 3 years and 7 months, but they still recognized him right away. They looked happy to see Sama-chuk, who had now grown into adulthood. Mr. Achung. Mr. Sunwon. Young master. You have grown well. This is a pleasant surprise. Did you graduate from the academy? Yeah, I'm done with the academy now. Mun-ku scratched his nose as it felt like he will cry. This looked very promising that Yoan might get approved easily. Sama-chuk then quickly spoke to Achung. Can you tell my father that I'm here with Prince Chun Yoan? Yes, young master. Achung then ran inside the mansion. Soon, someone else ran out of the mansion. It was the leader of Samu clan, and the 9th elder, Sama-e. He had slick pushed-back hair with well-cared mustache. Sama-e bowed at Chun Yoan and smiled. Prince, no. Elder Chun. It is an honor to have you here at my humble home. Please come on in. It was a warm welcome. What's interesting was that Sama-e did not recognize In Moha standing next to Yoan. It seems he had figured In Moha was just some kind of woman guard. It should be better to hide your identity for now. She agreed with the plan, so she didn't say anything. In Moha was like a secret weapon to Yoan now. Sama-e then spoke to Yoan. Please come in. We will have a feast for Elder Chun's visit. It's still daylight, but we'll go ahead and drink our day away. Thank you for your hospitality. Yoan didn't look all that excited, however. He was awkward at such a warm welcome that he had never received until now, and he also thought that this seemed like it was too much. But Sama-e wasn't lying. When the group walked past the outer building and into the large guest house, they were brought upon large feasting table full of expensive and luxurious cuisine. The scent of expensive liquor was also very tempting. If Ko Wonger had seen this, he would have regretted sending Mun-ku instead of himself. Here now. Come on in. You all have done well at the academy. Sama-e offered them to eat. He was still a leader, but he made it so like Chun Yoan needed to start on the eating for the party to begin. When Yoan grabbed the chopstick awkwardly, the feast began. You know, I was mesmerized by how you handled Elderbeck at that time. It was astonishing. Sama-e sat right next to Yoan and complimented and praised him throughout the feasting. It was his show of friendliness, but it just felt awkward for Yoan. And after some time, Yoan thought it was time to go into his business. I have something to ask you, Elder Sama. Sama-e then became serious and responded. Please, tell me anything. I will help with anything. Yoan then got up from his seat and bowed. I want you to approve me for becoming the heir. Ah. Sama-e looked astounded. He had heard that Yoan had appeared at the Bijak Street, so he had expected this time would come soon. You shouldn't bow to a mere elder, when you will become the lord in the future. Please, raise up. Sama-e then gave a sign to his servant. The servant came up to him and Sama-e whispered something. The servant then walked out to get someone. Soon, someone entered the guest house. Huh? Everyone at the feast table turned at the person. She was a beautiful lady, probably in her 19 or 20, with yellow silk clothes with many pieces of jewelry. Her eyes were shaped so that she looked very innocent and pure. Introduce yourself. Sama-e spoke to her and she bowed politely. Greetings, Elder Chun. I am Sama Young. I am Chun Yoan. It was certain that she was related to Sama-e, as she shared the family name. Yoan awkwardly bowed back at her. Why did he call her here? Yoan became confused and Sama-e smiled and spoke. Ha ha ha, she is my daughter. She is Chuk's sister. I see. Sama-e then revealed his true intention. Of course, I will approve you of becoming the heir. But don't you think we need some kind of mutual trust for that? And so that's where I want to ask you. Chun Yoan didn't feel good about where it was going and frowned. What do you mean? Well, since you are not still married, why don't you take my daughter as your wife? PFFFFFFFT. Mun-ku spat her liquor that she was drinking like a spray at that word. Chapter 184. Unexpected Offer. Part 5. Mun-ku sprayed all the liquor over the entire food on the table. Samachuk was also drenched in a liquid that came out of Mun-ku's mouth and became dumbfounded. Mun-ku, what is? Chuck wanted to complain to Mun-ku on what she just did, but Yoan spoke first that stopped him. I am not following what you are saying. He had guessed there was something Sama-e wanted, but he didn't expect it to be a marriage. He did think about the future ahead of him, but marriage wasn't on his mind yet. Sama-e then asked him, "Are you not satisfied with my daughter?" "No, it's not that." "Then is there any problem?" It seems Sama-e was determined. This whole event had been planned by Sama-e ever since he saw Yoan defeating Beko, the leader of Poison Clan and the elder of the cult. "I have to make Prince Chun as our family." Most clans, even Samu clan who was at highest ranking beneath the 6 clans, still had to be wary of what they were doing, and Aways were afraid of 6 clans. And here was Chun Yoan, prince from none of these 6 clans and one who was determined to overthrow the current system. The Sama clan will be the one who earns the place to be the first wife of the future lord. From what he had seen in history, he had thought Yoan will have multiple wives, even after overthrowing 6 clans. And if that was true, Sama-e wanted to take the best piece of pie first when he can. Sama-e smiled at Yoan. Haha. It is natural for 2 groups to join together in marriage for better relationships. Chun Yoan became wordless and Sama-e changed his method to persuasion. Even if he is powerful, he is still young to know about politics. Sama-e had kept his clan at highest ranking clan over 20 years against 6 clans. He was experienced and good at many schemes and tactics. He had many plans ready for his project to have Yoan as his son-in-law. Elder Chun. If you become the heir, you will have yourself against these 6 clans. You should know better. Every cultist knew that Chun Yoan and 6 clans did not get along. If Yoan was to become the heir, it was apparent that 6 clans will try to do something to overthrow potential powerful enemy before they are overthrown instead. Becoming an heir is just the start. You are powerful, but if you are against them, then you need forces equal to theirs. And for that, Samu clan will be your powerful ally. This was true. If Sama-e, leader of one of highest ranking clans, and the elder of the cult were to join, Chun Yoan was going to earn a great ally. Ugh, he has a point. Mun-ku thought as she looked at Sama-e and Chun Yoan with worried look. And when she thought got to the point where maybe Yoan will accept the offer and marry Sama Young, then she became shocked. Huh? Why am I worried about that? She was surprised that she came to such thought. She had pledged allegiance but never thought Chun Yoan as a person of romantic interest. But when she heard that Yoan might get married, she felt frustrated and sad. No way. I'm not. When she realized her feeling was not what she thought it would be, her heart began to pound. And as she began undergoing emotional turmoil, Sama-e continued. No offense, but you are from nowhere, Elder Chun. Background and who you have at your side isn't something to consider lightly. And for that, marriage will bind us together strong. This will ensure your foothold and help you grow in power. Yoan began to thought and Sama-e figured that Yoan was agreeing to his idea. Sama-e then smiled and went on to the conclusion. I will approve you of becoming the heir, Elder Chun. But if we become one family, then you will earn the might of Samu clan under your feet. This is possibly the best way you can imagine. Isn't it? Ha ha ha. But this was what he really thought. With the future lord as my son-in-law, our clan will become the #1 clan of the cult. This serves both of us well. Was he really persuaded? Yoan seemed to be deep in thought and everyone turned to Yoan. Mun-ku even had her eyes pointed down from concern. Yoan, who fell silent for a long time, spoke. You are right. That brought joy and sadness to the people. Sama-e wasn't sure if Yoan will agree, but he instantly brightened up and smiled. Yes. Ha ha ha. I knew it. What fool will refuse such a good offer? But Mun-ku instantly turned gloomy. She felt her heart aching when she heard Yoan saying as if he was ready to marry. She had been rejecting the idea, but she finally realized her true feeling. So, I'm in love. She finally realized her feeling, but Yoan was going to be with another woman. This made her feel lonely and sad. Sama Young, who was pushing back her hair embarrassingly, was pretty and Mun-ku herself, hiding her face with man's mask wasn't. There was no way Yoan will like her in that way. Ha ha ha. You have made a good choice. We will be family now, so we can. I think you misunderstood. Yes? I just said you are right in what you said. Sama-e froze in place at what Yoan said and asked. I beg your pardon? Let me ask you instead. Aside from marriage, do you intend on approving me of being the heir? That's... Sama-e frovnit. He didn't expect Yoan will ask back in this way. He had expected Yoan to accept the offer as it was going to benefit both of them, so this question was unexpected to say the least. If he says the marriage was requirement, then it would put him in a shoe where he was only wanting power, and if he says marriage doesn't matter, then this will give Yoan reason to refuse the marriage. He got me. I thought he was going to be naive. I was wrong. Chapter 185. Unexpected Offer. Part 6. Samae was lost for words. He couldn't answer either way. He thought maybe he should go strong for the future's sake, but he was concerned about what Chun Yoan had done until now, which in turn would come to him. Prince Chun does not even fear 6 clans that all cultists fear. It might not be a good idea to make him angry. He was afraid of ruining everything out of greed. Samachuk then opened his mouth to help his father. Master, can I say something? Go ahead. My father, 9th Elder, have shown great interest in you ever since the 6th test. Even if it wasn't for the marriage, my father have prepared this feast only because he thought you fit to become the heir. And no, my son, if you say that. Samae Ferovnit. Samachuk was only trying to help, but this had narrowed the remaining option for Samae. Is that true, Elder? Yua. Samae hesitated and Yoan suddenly got up from the seat. Samae became shocked and Yoan bowed. I think your opinion differs from that of your sons. I think you and I walked the different path. I am grateful for your welcome. It is time for me to go. Huh? This was an outright decline, giving up what Yoan had come here to do. Samae thought Yoan would not go that far as he needed approval, but this wasn't expected. And with this, Munku, who had been gloomy, brightened up. She was worried that Yoan might marry another woman, but refusing like this gave her new hope. But wouldn't this become a problem to Prince later? She was glad that Yoan refused, but this brought concern. Samu clan was surely going to be a great help. Besides, the Lord himself also had 7 wives and many heroes had many wives, so marrying someone here wasn't much of an issue anyway. Oh? And with Yoan turning away, Een Moha smiled in surprise. She was worried that maybe Yoan will be persuaded by Samae's plans, but it was glad to see Yoan going strong against him. Let's go. As Yoan said to his servants, Samae's eye turned large. Is he really leaving? Wait. As Yoan tried to go down from the guest house, Samae grabbed him. Elderchun, where are you going? You can't just leave. Samae frantically held on to Yoan and decided he should step back on this. If you are angry from the marriage proposal, we can do it just like how you offered. Elder-sama. But do you know why I want to become the heir? Chun Yoan asked Samae. The simple reason would be Yoan wanting to become the lord, but this question meant that Yoan was asking for something else. Yoan then spoke to Samae. Why do you think the 6 clans hold the power over the entire cult today? Why? That's. Samae then realized what Yoan was talking about. Chun Yoan was saying that having a familial relationship with the Lord had brought this problem. Samae, elder of the cult, knew this very well and have thought himself that this was a problem. I rose up to fix the cult and bring it back to its origin, and do you want me to repeat the same thing that 6 clans are doing? I will not do that mistake. Samae then shook his eyes. He was just trying to stop Yoan so he can keep a good relationship with the future lord, but he was now astounded by Yoan himself. So, he is not just any other young man, his thoughts are deeper than imagined. Yoan wasn't just thinking of revenging against 6 clans. He was truly concerned about the future of the demonic cult. Yoan then bowed again to Samae. I thank you for your hospitality, but I think what you wish is different from what I want. And for the marriage? I want to be together with someone I love. Yoan then turned away. That's when he heard a pounding sound from behind and stopped. When he turned, Samae was on his one knee. Samae then bowed in respect and shouted. I was a fool and did not realize your vision. Prince Chun, please take away your anger. Everyone became surprised. Yoan too asked back in surprised look. What are you doing? I, leader of Samu clan, and the 9th elder, Samae, pledge allegiance to the Prince Chun Yoan. Please take my medal as a token of my approval. Samae then reached into his pocket and took out the medal that proved him as an elder. Samae had thrown his greed and truly pledged allegiance. Yoan smiled silently. And exactly 3 days after he came out of the demonic academy, Yoan was able to gather 3 approvals he needed. After a few hours later, Yoan had returned that he needed to do something during today and Samae laughed and shook his head. Ha ha ha. He didn't expect that he will pledge allegiance because he was mesmerized by a young man and didn't even achieve the goal he was trying to do. Chun Yoan came to him as a shock. I hope I am not wrong. He thought maybe Yoan was going to change the cult back to its glory. And when Samae entered back to his mansion after bidding farewell to Yoan, he spoke to his together, Sama Young. Young. Yes, father. He is a man that you should not give up. Surprisingly, Samae had not given up on his goal. It wasn't sure if it was intended, but Chen Yoan said that he will marry someone that he loves. Samae wasn't going to lose this chance. Sama Young then answered in determined voice. I am not giving up, father. Yes. I'm counting on you. Sama Young had felt uncomfortable at Chen Yoan, who had not even hesitated on the marriage offer with her. She was proud of her own beauty and she didn't expect Yoan will outright refuse even after looking at her beauty. I'll make him realize. And on the way to the demonic academy, Yoan and his members were walking through with only Mun Ku bit behind the group. Her face looked glad with bright smiles. It was weird that her face turned red, then turned into smile and back. She was still thinking of Teehee moment while ago. Marriage. I want to marry someone I love. It wasn't sure if she had mistaken, but she felt like Yoan had glanced at her at that moment. Thinking of that moment made her feel excited and happy and made her heart pound. Hee hee. She couldn't stop smiling all the way through the way to the demonic academy.